You're listening to Life by Design, episode 413. Welcome to Life by Design. I'm your host, Dr. Jamie Richards, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Dr. Mike Gibson. Mike, welcome to Life by Design.
Thank you. I was trying to think going into this, when was the last time I was actually on this podcast? It's been years.
Years. Yeah, actually years. I was going to say Life by Design for chiropractors, as we have our profession-wide podcast that you're on. And I was thinking the same thing. It's been some time. So it's exciting to get you back on the podcast. And we always have some good banter about what we hope are topics that are relatable to people. And today we're specifically talking about, what we eat. Because one of the questions I get, I know you probably get it at your Eat by Design workshops, is this sounds great. It all makes sense. What the heck can I eat?
Especially, I think, especially being in, clinical practice where, we have our patients who are asking these questions and trying to follow these guidelines, is they're often just like, I think you're right. It's the disconnect between, okay, I get it. I see the list. I know what I should eat and shouldn't eat, but what do you actually eat? Like putting rubber to the road is often a challenge for them. And also too, I think people are always looking for someone to lead them, someone that they can follow. And when they see other people doing it, it makes them more motivated, inspired to say, hey, you know what? I can do this too.
Right. One of the things I hear a lot, when people first get introduced to this idea of eating by design, which really is eating real food, focusing on protein with every meal, good quality proteins. We are big fans of healthy animal proteins, good fats. Of course, your veggies, we're fine with fruits, carbohydrate appropriateness, as we've talked before, and then removing any foods that potentially have food toxicity, a lot of your grains, potentially legumes, and then dairy is a gray area. And, just follow those basic rules. But then again, they're like, well, that sounds really restrictive. And I find this a funny conversation. And, to put it back into their lap, I'm curious when I say, well, what did you eat for breakfast? Oh, I had oatmeal and blueberries. Oh, great. And of course they assume that's a really great breakfast, and it's not terrible. And then, well, what'd you have for breakfast yesterday? Well, oatmeal and blueberries. And what about the day before? Oatmeal and blueberries and lunch and dinner. And they end up seeing that they're already in a restrictive eating model just by choice. And I think the best diets, regardless of where you fall, whether it's something that's outside of Eat by Design or not, probably only have, I don't know about you, my food base, I would say 90% of what I eat is probably less than 20 different things.
Yeah. And I think really totally agree. And to add to that, I think it's totally a matter of perspective, because, if someone were to see exactly what I'm eating in a given week, and I'll add some context to that in a minute, they say, oh, I can't, that's so restrictive. Right. Now, I've been eating this way for at least 20 years now, right? So to me, it's anything but restrictive. And I never feel, what am I going to eat? That's not a question that ever enters my mind, right? There's so many options, and I in no way ever feel like I'm missing out. So I think perspective is really key. And I've never actually looked at it or thought about it from the perspective that you've just shared, in terms of like, if you actually followed most people, they're probably, whether knowingly or not, have restricted themselves, likely because of, just maybe a lack of knowledge about what they could be eating or should be eating, or potentially they don't have the resources to get what they need, or maybe they lack the cooking skills or just what to do with certain food. So that's an interesting take that I'm certainly going to I'm going to bring up with a few patients next time they ask.
Exactly. It's a funny conversation. And I think back to Rob Wolf, who, the writer, author of the Paleo Solution. And he did a food matrix one time, take you back to grade 11 math. Just even if you had 5 different proteins that you ate and 5 different fats and 5 different spices, and then you just mix them all up. It was some kind of crazy, like thousands of different meal options that you could particularly have. So, I think as you said, it's really just a perspective. And then you hit on a really important point, is like anything that is newer, there's a confidence that comes with, developing a skill set. And so the skill set may be cooking, and that may be you, it may be a partner or spouse, it might be parents, depending on who's doing it. And like anything, once you get more skilled at it, then you realize, oh, well, that wasn't quite as complicated as I thought that it was.
Yeah, agreed. And I think it's again, I just keep coming back in my mind, like, I think the biggest thing holding people back is just, and this is why I think it's important to have this conversation and for us to have our conversation with our patients in our practice, is just that people just need to see it in action. And once you see someone else doing it, like, oh, I think gives them more confidence to try it themselves, to try new things, and to realize it's not as hard as they think.
Right. Now, it's the context here for this conversation as well, as you were saying before, is, your wife and partner is a chef. So, it brings it, oh, Mike, Kristen's a chef. You have all these amazing meals. And of course, she cooks and you guys eat by design, but maybe make a couple points about that.
Yeah, well, and that's the context I didn't want to drop here, is that, people look at me and they go, oh, well, because the reality is this, is yes, my wife is a chef. And so she goes and spends her days cooking meals for other people. And so she always brings home, I think it was yesterday, the day before, I walked in the kitchen when she got home and there was literally probably 12 different meals, all already prepared, just sitting there waiting for her to put it in the fridge. So that's my life. Honestly, I'm pretty lucky in that sense, is where I don't ever have to think about cooking or going to the grocery store or what am I going to eat for the next meal. I literally open my fridge and take my pick. So I get that that's a pretty great place to be. And also, not only that, is that the meals that she's making are by design. Right. And so the meals that she brings home are by design. So I don't even have anything that's kind of like pulling me in the wrong direction. I don't open up my cupboard and see all these non-by design foods and go, I have to like fight the urge to eat them. It's just not in my home, because it's the way that we've always eaten. So, I'm certainly living the life of luxury as it comes to nutrition, but I literally, to answer your question, I eat what's in the fridge. And the only thing that I probably, there's two things that I'd say that above and beyond that I work really hard to do. Well, I eat by design. I eat what's available to me, which happens to be by design and already prepared for me. I do only eat between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. every day. And I go out of my way to eat more vegetables. Those would be, the big things that I kind of work towards, again, given the luxurious environment that I live in.
Right. Well, and I think the important point there is, regardless of whether you have a built-in chef making you amazing meals, you eat what's available, which for everybody else, what that means is you have to give some conscious thought to what you're going to make available. So it just so happens that that's what you guys have available, but that is really no different than anybody else. My fridge, Dana's an amazing cook. And so we've got all this food available, but we decided what we were going to buy. And you guys decided, she has still to decide what the meals were going to be for the people she's cooking for. So, she's choosing to cook in a certain way and make those available. We're lazy. That's just a natural thing. As you take, for instance, our gyms or our corrective chiropractic practices, people don't want to come, not to the degree that we want them to come. They do, and they make that time investment, energy, and money because they see the value. But, left to their own devices, if they could get all the same results without doing any of the work, most of us would not do any of it because we're not really enjoying the process. We're just doing it because we know it's good for us. So you've got to create, I forget the book, was it Dan and Chip Heath, in terms of habit build? Yeah, you kind of have to groove the path.
Yeah.
Right. And create that.
You said something really important there. I think really comes down, like anything else, right? And it's about habits, about creating good, positive habits, pushing out negative health habits and replacing them with new, healthy, positive ones. That's really the name of the game. Most people I speak to have at least a general idea or, about what they should be eating, when they should be eating, how much they should be eating. They have a general idea that if they followed the knowledge they do have, regardless if it's perfect or not, if they just had some healthy habits to follow what they do know, they'd be so much better off.
So let me ask you this then. Why don't they follow them, right? Why doesn't a patient who knows they should eat protein with every meal, where do you think the biggest gap is?
I think actually the biggest gap, I think this may surprise some people, is that most people don't completely understand the consequences of what they're eating. I think if people did, if they truly understood all the things that you and I know about how food impacts us, not just in the short term, but in the long term, I think they would be more motivated to make different decisions. There's a bunch of them, but I think if you're asking me what's the biggest one, I think it's that one.
Well, and you look at that as applied to other things. It's one of the reasons why you see less and less people smoking. right? As people understand the impact now on a larger scale, and they're willing to do that. And it brings me back to a quote, and I'm not sure if it was his quote, but I've always loved it, from John Berardi from Precision Nutrition. And that's that most people fail to succeed because they trade what they want most for what they want in the moment. Absolutely. And, kind of hits the nail on the head. That Precision Nutrition also did a great study within their clients, of which they have many, many, many. And the number one reason for failure with nutrition in their poll was a lack of planning, number one. And number two was stress and stress eating. It actually had very little to do with not knowing what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I haven't, again, that's, they have so many more clients, so their data is much more meaningful than my observations. But I would completely agree.
Yeah. So last few minutes, let's just talk about what we eat in a regular day. And of course, I know yours varies a little bit just because of the different meals that are coming in. But I'll go first, and you can throw in some of the commentary. Similar to you, you've got a compressed eating window, which I'm a big fan of in 99.9% of the cases. And again, if your goals are slightly different, if you're trying to gain muscle or do certain other things performance-wise, that window might get opened up a little bit if you need to consume more calories. But for the most part, compressed window, I think that's great. Something we'll talk more about, I think, in podcasts to come is, using some type of measurement system to determine, where that window lies. And we've been using blood glucose testing for that. So I'm excited about that. For me, my testing has shown that I eat about the same amount of time, but I don't eat. And now I could do exactly what you're doing if I could kind of suck it up and not eat so late at night. But because I eat so late at night, I get home, it's 8, 9. For me to get to my place where I can eat again, it's usually 2:30 to 4. So I'll usually eat about 2:30 pre kind of afternoon checkup shift. And then I'll eat, and then I'll have another supper and then a snack. And that takes me till 9. So kind of 3 till 9 type idea. But of course, if I move that time back a little bit, then I could eat a little early in the day. But for me, it's protein with every meal. It's, basically eggs, chicken, beef, pork, fish, some veggies, my avocados. I'll do a little Greek yogurt on different things. Tomatoes, salsa, lots of different spices. And then if I'm looking for a snack, I'll usually err towards either a protein shake with some grass-fed whey, or I'll do a Quest does a nice whey protein bar that has a very few ingredients in it. And that's pretty much it. Kind of rinse and repeat over and over again.
Yeah, for me, like I mentioned, it does vary significantly, which is great. All by design food. So as you mentioned, it off the top. Now, the only other things of note, again, not often, but depending on timing, usually, so we call it a lifestyle supplement, is that we actually have a new beef-based protein.
Did you use the carnivore?
No, it's Designs for Health.
Okay.
Tastes excellent. Really, really good. Really happy with it. We started carrying it in the office maybe a month or two ago, and it's been a huge hit. My kids love it. So I'll have that just depending on timing usually. Rather have real food, but if I'm not going to have a meal, or need to just eat quickly, then I'll grab that. And then apart from that, just I do make a conscious effort. It's the only thing I really think about consciously when it comes to food is how do I get some more vegetables?
Right.
That's the one thing that I just feel better. I feel a lot better. And luckily I'm still at a point where, if I eat, we had nachos the other day, corn chips, but for whatever reason, body doesn't like it. My body has a very strong response. I just feel kind of bloated and just not great when I don't eat by design. So I've got that built-in, almost instant response. Where my body says, "I don't like this. Don't do this again." And so that keeps me on track, even if some smell, the smell of something that is just smells delicious. I kind of stay away because I know what it's going to feel like if I eat it. So I'm lucky in that I have an immediate response system to say, yeah, that wasn't a good idea.
Great. Thanks, Mike. I know that for a lot of people, that's going to give them some insight and a starting point. And if you are struggling, you've been following Life by Design and really working towards eating by design, but just kind of got hung up on the what to do, I believe this is going to give you a little push in the right direction. Realize it doesn't have to be complicated. It literally is just eating real food, eating protein, good fats, and then it's becoming creative and figuring out, how I can make this, how I can make it convenient. so you can put that into some kind of automated habitual system, which is where all the results lie. So, Mike, I'm excited that you come back on the podcast.
I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have you back again really soon. Guys, thank you for joining the drive to 1 million families worldwide living life by design.